There's only one ultra-low ash heavy-duty engine oil. Chevron Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. No other diesel engine oil defends like this one to reduce DPF clogging and extend DPF service life, extend drain intervals, and improve fuel efficiency. It's proven performance that keeps your truck ready for action on the work sites and on the weekend. For confidence in every mile, choose Chevron Delo 600 ADF.
From Washington, D.C., this is Road Signs with your host, Mike Fries.
Welcome to this episode of Road Signs, the podcast series from Transport Topics that explores the trends and technologies that are shaping the future of trucking. Before we get started, I'd like to remind our listeners that you can check out our reporting from the TMC meetings and other industry events this year at ttnews.com. Or gain access to our full industry coverage by subscribing to Transport Topics. If you're not a subscriber, you can sign up at ttn.ws/TT-subscribe or text TT-subscribe to 571-622-0001. And speaking of trends and technologies, we're going to discuss a topic that has been on the minds of all business leaders of all stripes: artificial intelligence. As hype for AI fades, many industry leaders are now past the learning stage and are delving into its possibilities, especially on the fleet technician side. So for this episode, we'll ask the question, how can artificial intelligence make an impact for the fleet technician? For that answer, we'll bring in an industry insider that is well versed in this subject. He is the Vice President of Sales at Pedigree Technologies, as well as a part of the American Trucking Association's lead ATA class, Rocco Marrari. Welcome to the show, Rocco.
Hey, Mike, thanks. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here as well. You know, we did meet before this interview in Raleigh at the TMC, the Technology and Maintenance Council fall meeting and the TMC Super Tech competition. And when we met in the lobby of the conference arena, we were going wildly in both ways, and we definitely had a great conversation. But before we get into artificial intelligence and that technology and what it's doing for the technician segment, what were some of your takeaways from the TMC fall meeting? There was a lot of important topics and interesting things that I heard, so I just kind of wanted to get your take from it.
Yeah, Mike, I appreciate that. TMC is such a great organization. What I really like about the Fall Super Tech is we're honoring those technicians. Those males and females, they go in there and that becomes their World Series. So they give 100% and they really want to show off, how good they are at their trade and their skills. And it's such a refreshing environment to be a part of. When you walk through that floor, Mike, and I know you saw this as well, the pride that's gleaming through each one of those techs, their companies, the carriers that sent them there, it's just overwhelming. And, it's something that I think a lot of people need to experience to really get the full grasp of what the technicians go through in a day-to-day. Again, it's not like back in the day. I've been in the business now going on 13 years in transportation, and I can just imagine what it was like, further back, where it was just, a wrench turner. Right now, these guys are so advanced and these girls are so advanced. It is just a game changer to see what they're doing.
You had touched upon something that I've always thought when I started covering this is, you have the technician holding the wrench, and now it's replaced by a tablet, and the industry has evolved so much in that, with the TMC Super Tech competition, when you have a category such as fuel and lubricants, you had that type of station for years in that competition. And then now, years past to now, you have categories such as cybersecurity and other electrical types of stations, and it's really showing how the industry has evolved when it comes to the technician work, because it is very important. We talk about the drivers all the time, but it's very important to recognize the technician in all of this as well.
Oh, I agree 100%. And for those who do attend Super Tech, there's a portion of the competition called Future Tech, which that's really really dear to my heart because that those are technicians who are in trade schools right now, really learning the ropes, and it shows the determination and the passion that these young men and women have to really help our country and our carriers really drive forward. And when you see them in that light doing what they do the best and showing how putting what they've learned to use, it's an amazing feat to see. That's one of the things that I really really enjoy about the fall TMC Super Tech.
To your point, Rocco, one of the things that I often say, and I joke around this with the staff a lot, that when I go to the TMC fall meeting, and such as well as our fellow reporter Eugene Malero, he's often at the National Truck Driving Championships, and I often joke with him as well that those two, the Super Tech and the Driving Championships,
Mm-hmm.
are the closest things that we can get to for a sporting event, and really, scratch that itch of competition
Yeah.
when it comes to the industry. Going from the competition, to the learning aspects of things, and especially us as an industry, there's so many things that have evolved, in this short amount of time. A year ago and today, we've been talking about EVs and the adoption and the challenges within all of that. But this year, the conversation in the industry in general has really gone to AI and that technology and what it's going to mean for the transportation industry. On the driver's side, there's definitely some um, generative or agentic AI components when it comes to driving, when it comes to dispatching and such. But
Sure.
we really haven't talked about too much of what impact that AI will have in the technician segment. And I just want to know, Rocco, from you, where you're standing. I know you've pontificated upon this subject quite a bit, so I just kind of wanted to see from where you're standing. I mean, you're sort of on the ground level of all this. I mean, how has that technology impact the segment, and where can it go from this particular beginning of
Yeah.
foundation?
Yeah, Mike, I always tell everybody, this industry is 15 to 20 years behind everyone else. If you really sit back and take a look at it, right? Uh, you hear people say, well, this is how it's always been done. So this is, the best way to do it.
Hmm.
Well, my take on that is just because it's always been done that way doesn't make it the best way possible. It makes it the most comfortable way, but it surely doesn't make it the best way possible. You know, we were part of the product showcase, and I think we had 7 participants. And I think out of the 7, 5 were having to do with AI technology. So if you really think about that and break that down to where the industry is going, we are going to a more AI driven industry, which is fantastic. You know, one of my big concerns with the industry is we're so reactive. If you everything that the industry has done up to this point has been reactive. There's an accident, you react to it. There's a maintenance issue, you react to it after it occurs. If you look at the other industries around us, they take on that proactive model. So why don't we look at preventing these maintenance issues, getting in front of them, getting in front of accidents by utilizing AI and so forth. And that really makes us that proactive AI driven industry that's going to, at the end of the day, Mike, it's going to increase profitability. The margins here are so razor thin. If you can even save anywhere between 2 and 5%, just think about in the big picture where that's going to bring you as a carrier by utilizing technology that's out there, that's at your fingertips, that is very easily adaptable to your organization.
Rocco, I like that you pointed out the reactive versus proactive approach, the way that the transportation industry has been for decades, and also the when you talk about the margins and just sort of when the rubber meets the road on any technology, it has to make business sense, and in order to make it business sense, there has to be a potential for profit. Where maybe those two particular things, maybe it's just, I mean, one question that I can ask off of that, where where's that line where we can use this technology to number one, go forward thinking, as you were just stating, but also to make it, applicable to, to make a profit, so where it does make sense to put this technology in that is going to be efficient and is going to make us money. I mean, where's that line?
I love that question.
Okay.
Because I just spoke about data,
Mm-hmm.
and what carriers are afraid of is data overload, and it's very real.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really sit down at its core and break this down, the data that they're receiving now is just manual information that they need, that they're seeing. Okay, we have this incident occurring, so we need to react to this. When they start embracing AI technology, they're going to start receiving a flood of data, and that's scary, right?
Right.
And their concerns at this point are, how do we manage that data? If and I'm sure everybody listening has seen that meme, data drinking from a fire hose. So when a prospective carrier is looking at making that transition into a more modern day fleet, they're going to have all this data. So the best way to look at gaining an ROI is take the data that's important to you and make sure whatever platform you're using to get this AI, that you have your own data sources that are important to you. So make sure they're able to build a dashboard, because there's going to be information that's not relevant, and if you have to have somebody managing that information, as you just spoke, that's going to bring that ROI down. But if you have that dashboard of information that's important to you, that just increased that profit margin, because now you're allowing the AI, that system, to do that work for you and then present it to you in a form that's easily readable and usable. So now you can make those day-to-day decisions and even strategic decisions moving forward. Because when we really dig into AI, that's going to allow you to really start being strategic in how you make your moves with maintenance, technicians, drivers, even customers, because it's going to touch the entire aspect of your business.
I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that, especially when it comes to adoption of any technologies, is it's that feedback and that buy-in, especially from the techs, and then that translates to the drivers as well. Rocco, when you had mentioned that, especially when you're acquiring data, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Often on this podcast, I often liken that to paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, in both instances you're standing still taking in a lot of data. So but aside from that, what I'd mentioned before with the driver and the technician, feedback when it comes to the technologies, such as AI, that there really has to be a buy-in in all of that. And you had just just gave an example of just how successful that technology can be when it's applied efficiently and practically. But to get to that point, you have to communicate to those people that are going to be working in that technology that this is worth it. I mean, from your experience, what the positive feedback, or maybe even the negative feedback, or I mean, what has that been like, and what has the actual operators of these platforms and systems, what are they saying about AI?
Yeah, I love that. So, and I have firsthand experience with this because we do have a predictive maintenance solution. So I can speak to the challenges of getting that buy-in initially. So when you think, when you go to a carrier to speak to them about, utilizing AI or, anything that's predictive, right? It
Hmm.
puts a fear in the end users, because at this point they're thinking, this is my job that's going to go away. This is what I do. So you really have, to alleviate that fear. So in the maintenance world, when it comes to that, the best thing I've seen is, when we're looking at, gathering these new techs, right? We want new technicians to come in. If you sit back and look, all of these new upcoming techs, they're used to technology. They're used to using, tablets, cell phones, any smart device, chat GPT, that's what they've grown up with that. So it's almost for the younger techs that this type of technology is expected. So, what I see a lot in that realm is those younger techs actually help us get the buy-in from the more seasoned technicians. Because those younger techs go in and say, listen, team, right now you're having to wait for this incident to occur. Then we have to scramble to fix this. But if we can get notified 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead of time, now we can schedule that to come in, and it's going to make your life so much easier. So initially, those younger techs or younger drivers are the ones who are really giving us the buy-in to gain all the confidence from the older side of the driver colony or even the technician colony. And they're the ones who really drive that buy-in for us. And when I started in this journey, I would have never expected that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that is really amazing to see how they talk amongst each other and show that by utilizing this, you're not going to lose your job. We're not out there. Nobody's out there to replace people. It's out there to make your time more efficient, make your job easier and more productive throughout the day. And once they see that in action, then the buy-in really occurs full force there from the organization.
Our trucks haul rocks, not blueberries, but they still have to get there on time. There is no slack in our schedules. These trucks can't break down. I choose an engine oil that takes care of the number one issue we have with emissions in our diesel engines, DPF clogging. It keeps our trucks on the road so we can deliver the loads that keep our customers in business and happy. Our reputation is on the line with every load. I wouldn't trust any other oil to protect it. I choose Delo 600 ADF.
And I think that I would assume that bleeds over. I wouldn't say bleeds over. That's a bad choice of words that I used there, but no. But I would say that that would definitely get into the driver's perspective as well when it comes to predictive maintenance. Because I'm sure, Rocco, that when those younger techs are talking to the older ones just about the benefits of it, I'm pretty sure just reducing unexpected downtime is probably like number one in there, in that benefit. But I'm pretty sure there's others as well. Just even with the drivers, and like I had mentioned before, you have agentic AI, which is more of the more driver based, more back the back office type when it comes to the dispatching. So
Yep.
AI is definitely its tentacles has gotten into a lot of spaces, and we were just talking about the maintenance into the Bay areas, but does it have a reach into other areas of the segment, such as recruitment and retention? I mean, how can AI help in that regard too? Because that's been an ongoing problem since I've covered this industry.
Oh, Mike, that's a huge part of this. So, look at it from the driver's perspective. If they're on the road, they're making money when they're hauling freight. Let's where the rubber meets the road, they're making money hauling freight. So anytime where they're down for a maintenance issue, that's time where they're not making any money. So if you think about it from a recruiting retention side, if that driver is constantly down for maintenance issues, why wouldn't they be out looking at another carrier who has a better maintenance record, which is going to allow them to move more freight and in return make more money, which again, we all do what we do for one reason, and that's to make an income to support our families.
Yes.
So these drivers, that's really what's most important to them. So if they can be, let's just say, AI within tires, okay? If that driver is notified that they have a pending tire issue, that allows them to plan their day accordingly, to get maintenance out there, to get roadside out there, to get that tire fixed before it negatively impacts their entire day. Same thing with maintenance. If there's a predictive maintenance portion of this aspect, and we let that driver know, hey, in 2 weeks, this part's going to fail, dispatch, maybe the driver manager maintenance is going to schedule that replacement during, a set downtime or during your off day. Just think about how that driver is going to feel knowing that that carrier is being proactive, looking out for them, that they value their time on the road. They value their equipment that much to where they're going to schedule this maintenance at a time where it doesn't impact that driver, instead of waiting for that incident to occur. And all of a sudden now that driver is going to be out of, commission for a day, 2 days, 3 days, who knows? So when you look at that from that aspect, that's going to be a positive impact towards recruiting and retention for your fleet and your organization. And Mike, you could take that a step further and look at your customers. Think about how your customers are going to feel knowing that your fleet's proactive, handling maintenance issues before they come up. What's that going to do for your on-time delivery? Is that going to increase it? More than likely, yes. If you know that you're going to have a tire issue before that issue occurs, or if you know you're going to have a breakdown before that breakdown occurs, you can handle that, which is going to bump up your on-time delivery, which is going to make your customer happy, which in turn is going to make your driver happy now because they're moving their freight, which in turn makes the maintenance and the techs happy because now they're able to handle those issues that come up at a timely manner, schedule them, and then now they're not rushing to get everything done to try to put that fire out. So it just comes full circle when we talk about this, how it can affect your entire fleet, your entire bottom line, and at the end of the day, just make you that much more profitable.
You just stated, well, I was going to ask you a question, Rocco, when it comes to customer service when it comes to AI, and I think you kind of hit it on the nail with your answer, just how that technology reaches. We were talking about maintenance. You just discussed recruitment and retention, and now it's that serving the business customer, on time delivery, custom pinpoint service when it comes to repair and maintenance. So it really touches all the segments of the technician side of the industry. Rocco, before we get you out of here on this particular subject, I usually like to ask the guests to put their analyst hat on, and I will ask of you that as well. Especially when it comes to AI. I'm going to date myself here, but as a young journalist back in the 2000s, I heard of this great technology that was going to shape the way business was done, called the internet, and the dot coms and the websites that were going to change the industry. And what was a boom was now a bust, and we were sold all the bells and whistles, but the internet is what it is now, and we're all a part of it. I want to ask you, Rocco. In my opinion, I think we're kind of in this space now when it comes to AI. I mean, not necessarily a new technology, but it is an evolving one and a super helpful one for the industry. But I mean, from what you have seen and how businesses are approaching this technology, where do you see this technology going in the future? I mean, is it going the wayward of the internet, or is this just a fad in some ways? Where do you stand on this?
Oh, I think, Mike, I think this is going to be a staple going forward.
Mhm.
I really believe if the fleets that are out there, and that, if those fleets want to stay competitive, and if they want to stay in the market, and if they want to really drive profits forward, they have to embrace this technology. It's not going to go away. It's not a fad at this point. If you look at all the different types of AI that's out there now, not only in our industry, in every industry possible, it's here to stay. So for those fleets who want to succeed, who want to really take that next step, they need to embrace this technology. At the end of the day, it's going to make them more profitable. It's going to keep that retention up. And really, again, the nice thing about AI technology, like I stated when we first started this conversation, is you can get the data that you want that's relevant to you. So when you're seeking out, again, that company to help you with the AI, make sure that you're able just to get the data that you need. And then you can scale from there. So once you get used to getting that AI technology in, the information in, and you see the value, then you can say, okay, let's take it a step further, take it a step further. And again, you can scale that and grow with your business. So, the long way around it, Mike, is I think AI is here to stay. For fleets to really gain market share and really become profitable, I think they're going to have to embrace this and look for ways that it's going to assist them going forward.
We've been speaking with Rocco Marrari, Vice President of Sales at Pedigree Technologies. Rocco, it was great having you on the show. We learned a great deal when it comes to AI in the tech space. Thanks for making us smarter.
Oh, Mike, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Before we close, let's take a moment to revisit our previous question. How can artificial intelligence make an impact for the fleet technician? First, a big thanks to Rocco Marrari from Pedigree Technologies for joining us on Road Signs. His 15 years of experience provides a unique perspective. The AI awakening of these several years have been met with optimism as well as skepticism. Knowing this, Marrari explained that the best way for the trucking industry to move forward is to fully embrace it. Like he said, AI is here to stay. In addition, young technicians entering the fleet maintenance field will ultimately carry the torch of AI, promoting a proactive culture versus one of reactiveness. That improvement will also show in other areas, allowing for a more successful operation. But the first step in all of this is to actively search for the value and improvement. If you enjoyed this episode of Road Signs, please let others know. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Feel free to reach out to the Road Signs team on X at TT Road Signs, or reach me at Michael V. Fries. You can email us at share@ttnews.com. We'll read them and respond daily. Also, let us know how we're doing by texting TT Survey to 571-622-0001. And of course, we'll be back with a new episode of Road Signs. Until then, I'm Michael Fries. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us. Road Signs is a Transport Topics production.